Hey guys, happy Friday. Hope you have had a decent week and looking forward to the weekend. Let me ask you a question. I was just been thinking about this today. Do you trust your feelings? What I mean by that is like, are they are the way you feel about things, are they always trustworthy? Can you, uh, okay, just for example, I know there have been times in my life when I had got built up a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of nervousness, only to realize at the end that that was a lot of wasted energy and stress because things fell into place. Things had already been put in motion or taken care of. I wasn't aware of. Um, I know there have been times in my life when I was angry about something. Maybe I was angry with someone, only to find out later that I didn't have all the facts and that my anger was unfair and unfounded. Um, the thing I'm thinking about is I think sometimes our feelings can be very misleading and lead us astray. Have you ever doubted God because you didn't feel Him there? I've heard people say that before. It's just like they're struggling in life. They're struggling with a situation, and they don't feel God, and therefore they start to doubt whether God's even there or not. I wonder how many people might even be experiencing some of those feelings right now with everything that we're going through. Is this? I don't feel God there. I'm going through these struggles. I'm going through these emotions. Maybe depression, maybe anxiety, maybe fear, whatever, and I don't feel God. Therefore, I wonder if He's even there. And sometimes it can be dangerous to trust your feelings. I think back and where I've been reading in my personal study time is in the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. Um, Moses had gone to Pharaoh to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, and of course Pharaoh didn't want them to go, and finally, after the 10 plagues had come, Israel is allowed to flee, and they go into the wilderness, and now they find themselves after all these years of being in captivity as slaves in Egypt, working and being abused as slaves. Um, Now they find themselves free, but they find themselves in a pretty scary situation. Now they're wandering around in a desert, and they don't know where food, where water, where God is. And they constantly in Exodus chapter 16 and 17 constantly say things like the people were thirsty and they were grumbling against God and against Moses, and Moses would go to God and say, these people are grumbling, they don't feel you here, God. And God shows up and He provides for them, and they're hungry, and God says, in the morning I will have manna on the ground, and in the evening I will send quail for meat, and I'm going to meet their needs, and they're going to see it. And they did. Every time they would start to grumble against God, and then suddenly God shows up and He's right there. And the interesting thing is God is showing them, I've been there the whole time. Don't trust your feelings because I've been there. You weren't seeing the whole picture. You weren't seeing everything you needed to see. And I wonder sometimes as we're walking along in our lives and we say, well, I don't feel God because I'm going through a bad time or I'm going through a struggle of some kind. I don't feel God there. That doesn't mean He's not there. Maybe you don't see how He's going to resolve things. But the fact is, it's like I remember when my kids were little. They didn't know how it was I was providing for them, but I did. I was always there, even if they couldn't see me, even if they didn't have any idea how it was I was providing for them. And God does that for us. I think about Romans chapter 8, starting in verse 5, when it says, those who live according to the flesh have their minds set on what the flesh desires, but those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their minds set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. You, however, are not in the realm of the flesh, but are in the realm of the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of God lives in you. And as I thought about that, I was thinking about what the difference between walking and living in the in the flesh versus walking and living in the Spirit means. And I think sometimes walking in the flesh is saying, I don't feel God. I don't see how this is all going to work out. I don't understand what God's doing. I don't know if I can even trust that He's there. But walking in the Spirit says, I completely trust God. I don't know how He's going to work this out. I don't know what the answer is or why the things that are happening, why they're happening. But I know He's there. And I trust Him. And I guess the question is, when you start to feel those feelings of anxiety, fear, doubt, are you just going to listen to your feelings and walk in the flesh? Or are you going to let yourself walk in the Spirit and say, God, I trust You no matter what. I know You're there. I know You're going to take care of me. I know You're going to meet the needs of Your children, just like You have all the way back into the book of Exodus, all the way up until now. And guys, we're in His hands. We are His children. And He's going to meet our needs. He's going to take care of us. Are you going to walk in the flesh and listen to your feelings? Or are you going to walk in the Spirit and trust in God? Look, I want you to spend some time with your family in prayer, thinking about the things that you fear and the things that you feel and the anxiety that comes from that. And talk about times maybe when you've not felt God there and doubted Him, only to see Him come through. And apply that right now. Talk about how in this time, with all the fear, all the concerns, everything going on, is this a time that you can continue walking in the Spirit and trusting God, or are you just going to give in to the flesh, the doubt, the fear, and just listen to those feelings that, let's be honest, aren't all that dependable, are they? Talk about that. Share this video with your friends and your family. Spend some time praying over these things. Remember, Sunday we are live streaming at 10:30 a.m. We're starting our Questions for God series. It's going to be a lot of fun worshiping together. Me and all the staff, we're going to be together this week in the message. All four of us are going to together bring this message as we try to answer some questions that are common questions that we would ask God if we were standing before Him right now. And we want you to be a part of that. So join us. Invite some people to join us on Sunday. I think there are a lot of people the questions we're going to be dealing with in this series are questions I think a lot of people have. And so, man, no better time is ever going to happen for you to invite people to join us at New Hope as we worship together this weekend. So share the links for our live stream and share this video, this devotion with your friends. And let's get together Sunday at 10:30 and worship. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.